Hello everyone and welcome to a new video from Your Overwatch. I'm Eddie the Chump and today we're going to be talking about things Overwatch past for a bit of fun. Some of it broken, some of it hype, almost all of it gone. These aren't all from 2016 exactly, but I think you can forgive me that. Now I had to search high and wide for some of the footage as a lot of the things we're going to talk about today are years old. For the footage that isn't ours, I'll credit every clip on screen and in the description, so if you're a newer player and want to see more of the crazy history the game has that you might not have seen before, you can check it all out at those individual channels further. Now firstly, we're going to talk about one of the biggest things we miss. Genuinely new content. Overwatch used to have this feeling that we didn't know what was going to be coming around the corner. This was obviously a source of constant hype as new heroes and events were just that, brand new. Winter Wonderland has just been recently announced. Sure, there'll be some cool new skins, and if Bob doesn't get a little Santa hat, me and Jeff will be having words, but for the most part, player excitement levels are pretty low because it's a case of we've seen all this before. This wasn't always the case. The Sombra ARG, which by the end for sure had frustrated everyone, was in concept an amazing way to generate that excitement. The whole games industry was talking about how Blizzard were taking promotion in an entirely new direction. It did go on too long, and the infamous countdown for another countdown made people mad, but looking back at it now when it culminated when Sombra hacked the main stage at BlizzCon, tell me you weren't uncontrollably excited when that happened. Doomfist is another great example. His lore elements were in the game since its release, and fans were free to use their imagination to try and figure out who he was, what his kit would be, and whether or not Terry Crews was going to play him, which remember was a major thing everybody debated for ages. Doom's lead time was long, excitement could build, hype was established. Compare that to now. Ash had an extremely short pre-release theory crafting era when they changed the Route 66 payload on the PTR weeks before BlizzCon, and it turned out it wasn't even for her, but for Echo. At least that hero might generate some long-term interest and payoff because we know that she's coming, just not when. On the event side, when the game was new, Lucio Ball was great first time round. Archives, which they pushed really hard, was also received really well because it showed us events, even if they were set in the past, that filled in gaps of the story everyone desperately wanted to know. Overwatch used to set up fans to be hungry for new experiences and deliver on those. We need a little bit of that spirit to return, I think. Broken is fun. Now, the game wasn't always as polished as it currently is, and despite it absolutely being a good thing, they patched a lot of this stuff, we can't help feel somewhat nostalgic for a period in the game's life when so much was still unknown or being experimented with that abilities and entire heroes changed much more rapidly than they do currently. There are Overwatch players now who will never know the joy and the agony of Hanzo's old scatter arrow. Yes, it was a bit RNG, yes you could get kills you totally didn't deserve or even intend, but be honest, when you got those kills, kind of felt great, didn't it? In a kind of evil, guilty pleasure way. Hanzo's regular shot was much harder to use back then too. When you did see someone like Seagull dominate with him, it really did give off a feeling of wonder. How about Doomfist's initial massive hitbox on Rocket Punch? You know, the one where you could insta-kill someone by barely touching them. Or Roadhog's original hook of destiny. To say that could be unfair is a gross understatement. I'm surprised it didn't hook other characters from other games into Overwatch. I hated dying to it, but couldn't help feeling that I deserved every dodgy hook I ever landed. Outplayed, son, try again. There was even a time when Bastion had a shield back in the beta days. Imagine playing against that now. His initial Ironclad rework was bad enough, nobody's that upset about the very brief, unkillable turret Bastion meta being gone forever. Well, maybe some people are. My point is, Overwatch feels very known now, as if everything's been worked out, every wrinkle ironed out. To me, the game was very exciting when loads of reworks and adjustments were happening much more swiftly, like the devs were experimenting themselves. The Mercy meta was the turning point. That stayed around for like 8 months, I think partially because the Overwatch League was having its first season at the time. Stability is now much more core to Blizzard's workflow, I think in part because constant patches aren't good for competition, hence why things can feel static sometimes. They are for fun though. Illegal tech. In much the same spirit of fun, hands up who remembers the crazy Doomfist rocket jump routes you could do for like a weekend when he was first released. Before this was patched out quicker than you could say nice hitbox, Doom could use his kit, particularly the seismic slam, to move around the map like very few heroes can except for Pharah. The slam at the beginning could lock onto surfaces above you, resulting in many players, myself included, going into the lab trying to find the most outrageous jump spots we could. That feeling of experimentation and discovery is something that's a bit lost in today's clinical Overwatch, as almost everything that is deemed an exploit is removed. improved. Take Genji's edge boost as another great example. This relatively simple tech was only really relevant to the best Genji players, and performing movement stuff like this in-game felt hype as it rewarded player investment into the character. It's technically a bug, as a lot of these are, but I never felt like a Genji doing it against me was cheating. A similar bug happened recently with Brig, where you could use the flail to lunge horizontally at people with surprising speed and distance. She did also have her own kind of shield bash jump too. I know practically speaking some of these would have broken the game, but I miss not knowing how deep a hero's tech could actually go. Ranked was far worse. If I've just spent a lot of time waxing lyrical about what was in the game that I now miss, let's talk quickly about some stuff that I'm so grateful has been consigned to oblivion. First up, coin flip. Believe it or not, back in the day, Overwatch ranked matches could be decided by somewhat random chance. If a match ended in a draw on, say, Volskaya, there'd be a random coin flip for attack and defense for sudden death. On 2CP, that meant whoever was unlucky enough to get defensive first point would most likely lose, as they're very easy to take because of spawn advantage. It blows my mind that this was ever a thing, just like win streaks and loss streaks and performance-based SR at all ranks. Win streaks and loss streaks would start to contribute to the amount of SR you gained and lost, which is a Hearthstone mechanic and is totally unsuited to a competitive ladder, as were SR performance-based micro adjustments. They're still in the game up to plat and below in an effort to accurately place people mechanically, but just serve to muddy the waters of ELO in the worst possible way. Right at the beginning of the game, Infinite Pick was seriously considered as the default mode for Overwatch, despite it being comically obvious that it made no sense at all. If you're a relatively new player and you think ranked is bad now, my dear sweet innocent summer child, you do not know how good you've got it. Now, I hope you enjoyed this little trip down memory lane. It's crazy to look back at all the things that have changed so radically, some for the obvious betterment, but some for the game's loss. What about you guys? What's your favourite memory of something that was in the game at one time that is now gone? In before 500 old Mercy Res comments. All joking aside, I'd love to read your guys' feedback, and I really do hope you enjoyed the video. If you never want to miss another video of ours again, please click the bell icon next to the subscribe button on our channel to join the notification squad. You'll be in great company. And finally, please follow the Your Overwatch Twitter. It's where you can find updates about new videos and other cool stuff. I've been Eddie the Chump, and until next time.